Hi everyone, my name is Grace and this is my final stewardship presentation on Borneo. So I'm going to start with some background information about the Borneo rainforest. And the Borneo rainforest is the oldest rainforest in the world. It is estimated to be 140 million years old, and it is located in Southeast Asia, but it's politically divided between Indonesia, Brunei, and Malaysia. So I'm going to talk about why I chose Borneo for my stewardship presentation. Borneo is home to a huge variety of wildlife, and according to the World Wildlife Organization, Borneo is one of the only places on Earth where tigers, rhinos, orangutans, and elephants can live together. Species here are still being discovered today. Borneo continues to be a really popular tourist destination, and I thought it was interesting that international traffic in Borneo has increased 10% in 2018, so it brings it up to about 6 million visitors per year. And I think it's really important that Borneo should be special to others, maybe not specifically us, but if people are traveling here, it's important to understand the culture and the biodiversity here, as well as the environmental threats that are posed here. Um, it's a good idea to get an understanding of that before um, going to appreciate the land. So next I'm going to talk about is how can you experience Borneo? The first one is travel. So you can travel here. It's not very realistic, but it is possible. The second one is reading and research. Um, Throughout this project, reading and research has given me a really good idea of what Borneo is, their problems that they face, what the culture is like here. It's given me a better um, understanding and appreciation of the island. Last is documentaries about Borneo. So there are a lot of documentaries out there that show the land kind of through someone else's eyes, and it gives you a better understanding of what actually goes on here rather than focusing on this kind of idealized view, which is marketed towards tourists. So, next, I'm going to talk about is how Borneo is special on a more global scale. Borneo is twice as old as the Amazon rainforest, and it is home to 18 million people and over 200 different ethnic groups. It's important to understand that local communities living on the island have been fighting not only for the protection of the rainforest, but their human rights, including clean drinking water and food. These communities really need the forest for their cultural survival. The Borneo Project explains that as the environment dies, kind of their traditions and their culture dies with it. The deforestation greatly affects them, and it also affects the environment and the wildlife here, which is so unique to them. Next, I'm going to be talking about Borneo's role in nature. So, Borneo is home to um, a really wide variety of biodiversity, and there are over 15,000 different plant species here. In the last 25 years, there have been 400 species discovered. Studies have shown that 222 like animal species live here, and of those 222, 44 are strictly found in just Borneo. So I thought that was really interesting, and it kind of shows how unique their animal life and their plant life is um, to this specific land. Next is Borneo's role in society. So, in society, I think Borneo's most, maybe not well known for, but a huge part of what they are made up of is palm oil plantations. Borneo produces about 85 of the world's palm oil. And as I mentioned before, Borneo has a large population of indigenous groups, which kind of make up their own society, their own like unique society in Borneo. So the state of their environment is what makes up their culture. And These indigenous groups have their own society of rich culture and language, traditions, and art um, in Borneo. So there are about 170 languages spoken on the island, many of which are spoken solely in Borneo. They also practice traditional medicine, including studying their unique um, biodiversity, their unique agriculture, and studying the health effects that they have on different illnesses and diseases. And they study medical plants. They also focus a lot on conservation. They provide sustainable electricity, and they're really cautious about the use of their natural resources. So, um, the island's contribution to society is mainly their diverse ecosystem and wildlife and their strong culture. The different indigenous groups that are passionate about the environment work hard to protect it. Their sustainable electricity allows for different jobs to make a profit for their people, and it also um, allows kids to go to school at night. So, next, I'm going to be talking about the risks to the Borneo rainforest. The first one is logging. Logging is defined as the cutting, processing, and removing of trees. Unfortunately, Borneo has one of the highest rates of deforestation in the world. They have lost forest cover twice as fast as the rest of the world's rainforest, and they've been intensively illegally logged. Illegal logging spiked in Borneo due to government subsidies of roads and processing facilities. More wood was extracted from Borneo between 1985 and 2000 than the Amazon and Africa combined. And 80% of rainforests in Borneo have been impacted by logging. I thought it was interesting that 226,000 miles of roads in Malaysia have been impacted by logging and clearing, which is pretty significant. The next risk to Borneo and the rainforest there is forest fires. So, only recently have forest fires become such a big issue. This is due to increased degradation of forests and peatlands. So, starting in the 1980s, about degradation of rainforests caused conditions that increased the risk of fires. So, the fires were also set for land clearing purposes, but not properly managed, which caused the fires to spread into healthy forests where it was not intended. So, that had a huge impact on the wildlife there and the people that live there and their um, biodiversity. One of the main drivers for the forest fires was to clear for industrial plantation development, which included the palm oil plantations, which leads me into the next risk, which is the palm oil plantations themselves. So, some background is that there was a rise in palm oil plantations in Borneo in the late 90s and early 2000s. It was seen as a great opportunity for growth and profit. So, around this time, Borneo was struggling with high unemployment rates, and the rise in palm oil plantations was seen as like this great opportunity to make money and start like manufacturing. Palm oil, if you didn't know, it's also a kind of vegetable oil which is used in food manufacturing, different beauty products like shampoos and soaps, and it's also used in biofuel. The expansion of palm oil plantations has caused Borneo to lose more than half of its forest cover. Borneo has also seen a significant decline in their biodiversity following the change from forest to oil palm plantations, and it removes a lot of the wildlife from their original habitats. Another fact I thought was interesting to include was that the drainage systems that are used in the oil palm plantations can affect the water tables in the areas and surrounding areas, which can lead to flooding and also an increased risk of fire, which I just talked about. Palm oil plantation is extremely profitable and has expanded a lot since 1985. In 1985, these plantations made up about 600,000 hectares, and in 2015, it was more than 8.6 million hectares. So next I'm going to be talking about the actions that are being taken. I think Butler explains it really well that the problems in Borneo are not complex, but the solutions are they really are. So, first, Indonesia has passed different legislation, including issuing permits for the use of natural forests. And Indonesia has also established the International Tropical Peatland Center in 2018 to study the conservation and restoration of the forest in Borneo. Next is that regulations have been put in place regarding forest resource usage and collection. The goal is to stress the importance of sustainability while reducing stress to the environment. And then lastly, the traders and producers of palm oil have pledged to eliminate deforestation and their impact on the environment from their supply chain through different initiatives. So, is it working? So, the companies that have pledged to eliminate deforestation in their production and trading make up 74% of internationally traded palm oil. That's an extremely significant amount. And if they're doing what they say, it should make a pretty big difference on the amount of deforestation happening. Like I said earlier, Borneo has one of the highest rates of deforestation in the whole world. So, this action and these actions should really make a difference. Moving forward, according to the UN Environmental Program, by 2017, there was a decline in plantation expansion and clearing of forest for the creation of plantations, which is now at the lowest since 2003. So this kind of shows that over time there has been a change in the amount of deforestation happening, and I think they're taking the conservation and preservation of the land a little bit more seriously, which is really important and a great step moving forward. And then these regulations regarding forest resources and reducing stress on the environment are mainly only practiced by indigenous groups in Borneo, and they are considered customary regulations. So my suggested preservation actions. The first one is the customary regulations I think should be adopted so that they apply to everyone that uses the resources on the land and not just these indigenous groups. So this would include the palm oil manufacturers that I talked about. I think that they use the land more than anyone else, and they should kind of respect the their values of the land, and they should be aware of the damage that they're causing, and they should take actions to reduce their impact. Second is I think there should be more regulation regarding the management of forest fires and illegal logging. More so the forest fires, I think it's crazy that they can get so out of hand that it spreads into the healthy forest where it's not really intended, and it can have such a huge impact on the people living there, the agriculture, the animals. There should be more management around that so it doesn't get so out of hand. Same thing goes with logging. I think overuse of resources is a pretty big issue here, and it's something that needs to be taken a little bit more seriously if they want the land to remain healthy. And then lastly, we can help on a local level. Different organizations take donations, and then they use that to travel to Borneo to volunteer and help the local communities with sustainable agriculture and preservation actions to help the land.